studies that really led me to cisplatin. So I was working with Kate Lefebvre, who's a pediatric oncologist here, and one of her specialties is neuroblastoma. And so they use cisplatin in neuroblastoma, and cisplatin is a very good drug, unfortunately, in that it really can cure cancers. It's in a lot of chemotherapeutic regimens, but it's a horrible drug because it's so toxic. So in kids, the problem that they have is it causes ototoxicity. So of course, being a transporter person, I know cisplatin is transported. This is a kid who's diagnosed, and he's lost his hearing. You can see that. And Kate will tell you that many of the kids lose their hearing either totally or lifelong hearing aids. So they might be cured of neuroblastoma, but they're paying a big price. So I thought, well, maybe we can do better than this. Why does it have to go to the hair cells? And I'll show you that. So there it is. 95% exhibit hearing loss. 35% require lifelong hearing aids. So a friend of mine who was here on the faculty for many years, but he passed away, her splits discovered that cisplatin is transported by a copper transporter, and that was published years ago. So we asked whether maybe the copper transporter was present in those hair cells in the ear, and whether that was getting cisplatin into the ear, and could we modulate it? So we stained first. We collaborated with Larry Lustig in otolaryngology, if you know him, he's great. So here's a rat cochlea, and we stained. That brown is CTR1, this copper transporter. It's really there in the cochlea. And it's in hair cells. I'll show you that very nicely here. We also showed that if you look at cisplatin uptake in the cochlea, we just isolated the cochlea. If you put copper, so this is cisplatin that gets taken up. If you put copper in, you can inhibit it, because copper will inhibit the copper transporter. So we can get a reduction there. So we thought, well, proof of concept, let's do that in vivo in mice. So we did do that. Here is, just turn it down a little bit so you can really see. So here are hair cells, that we've isolated from mice who have been treated with cisplatin. And you can see a whole bunch of them are missing. Look at them over there, this is in the cochlea. These apparently are the outer hair cells, and this is the inner hair cells. And cisplatin affects the outer. And so then there's a bunch there that are just gone. Those hair cells will never be regenerated, so they're gone. And when we put copper in, and we injected the copper intratympanically, or Larry and his crew did, we were able to prevent the hair cell loss. And we also did all these very nice hearing tests and things like that. So this was what really got me thinking, well, if the copper transporter is there, I don't want to administer copper into the intratympanically. What a pain. Why don't we just design cisplatin let's just modify it. It won't hit the copper transporter. We'll make sure that we modify it for a transporter that is not in the hair cell. So we did do that, and then we created a whole bunch of other targeted drugs. And so then we formed this company, and we started with neuroblastoma, and we've written a bunch of SBIRs. We've gotten a couple. We're submitting 2 hopefully today, 2 more. And we've used QB3 has a mechanism called Startup in a Box. They help you, so you just go over there, like you don't even know what you're doing. You walk over there, you say, you know what, I want to start a company. They give you a lawyer, they give you a company that runs your company. Those guys pro bono, not pro bono, because in the end, we're going to have to pay them. They run up a bill on us. If in fact we ever make money, they will at that point collect. But until then, everything's free, so we're doing things, so they're just great.
Did it help you get a logo too?
Yeah, as you can see, they didn't even help us name the company. I got so frustrated with the team. Everybody was calling it, so that's one thing. I'm the major owner, but I'm not that major. The students have a good ownership, but I still have, I made sure I could outvote them. So we were naming the company, and they kept coming up with things like transport or port or cargo port, or all these dumb names. So finally I said, you know what, I just want a pretty name. And so I found this name, and I started just Googling, and I found this word apricity, which is an old English word which means the warmth of the winter sun. So I said, okay, we're going to call it that. And they went, oh God, it sounds like a chick name. But anyway, so we've named it, and we formed this company, and we're doing a lot, with the company, and it's really fun. God, we're over in one of those incubator spaces, and we're in a group with a lot of other young people. I'm the old guy, but anyway, there are all these young people. My students, one of my students graduated. He's now working at the company, and it's really fun. So, and hopefully, I mean, who knows where it will go, but I personally feel very good about it. That's the area funded, but some companies are approaching us now, so we'll see. So that's it. And then these are, I work with the big NIH Pharmacogenomics Research Network, and that's also very fun internationally and nationally. And then these are the guys. He is a startup company person, and she is one. So a couple of them are on this slide that I'm showing. A bunch of them are clinical collaborators. Any other questions? Yes.
I just actually have a question about how you organize your day, because it seems like you're involved in a lot of different things. So do you have tips for us if people want to be involved in multiple different avenues like this? How do you do it?
Yeah, not well. So I blow off things. I don't go to any. So I consider you guys will like to know you guys are high priority. Why? I have kids. I feel like maybe I'll have some little influence on one of your lives, and that means something. So I try to choose things that mean things to me. And because I'm at the age where I'm so old, I don't care about my reputation or I don't care. So I try to choose things that I feel, and I feel I should have done that earlier too. But so I do. But I have a good assistant, so she helps me, and I have all these rules. Like nobody gets a half hour, nobody gets an hour. You can, if you want to see me and I don't want to see you, you have to wait a month. I have all these rules to try to protect my time, and I have a family, and I like to go out to happy hour too. So I just do what I can. But you're right. If I had to say where I need my next New Year's resolution, I got to cut back on some things that I feel have less meaning. I'm chair of this department. I've been chair, so that's on my list. Don't tell me. I mean, so there are things that I'm thinking I need to cut back on. So. But I do have a high energy. I don't sleep that much. I'm hyped. So I worked with it. And I guess I don't have any tips.
No, but those were tips, I think. You go for your passion, the things that mean the most to you.
That's true.
And you prioritize your day. Every day is different.
It's true.
Don't sleep.
Well, I have insomnia, so it helps if you have a disease. So, yeah.
Just one question about your work with the cisplatin. I work a little bit in the GI oncology world, that's what my research is, and we have a lot of patients who are dose limited by their oxaliplatin toxicity and the neurotoxicity associated with that. And up until about a year ago, it was thought that infusing calcium and magnesium in these divalent cations would help sort of assuage that toxicity. So I'm wondering, with you working with copper, is there any crossover to the neurotoxicity side of your platinum agents?
Yeah, so that's a peripheral neuropathy, right, that they get. Yeah, so we've thought about oxaliplatin. Actually, oxaliplatin is not a copper transporter mediated. It's taken up, it has this little hexane on it. It's taken up by actually an organic cation. It's taken up by those ox. It likes organic cation transporters. So we have made better oxaliplatins, but they're even probably more toxic, so that's not helped. But yes, oxaliplatin is on sort of our mind. We recently took, so one of the things you can do when you have a big lab is if you're real interested in things, so I was interested in Mendelian disease, or transporter-mediated Mendelian disease. So there's a whole lot of transporters that can be targeted for a lot of different diseases. So we're like, and then I do have the problem of, I've got to focus. And the other thing about SBIR, can I tell you, because I'm telling my son this, he's going to come over here, he's going to be a radiology resident starting in July. Now he's working at St. Mary's. He's being killed, by the way, in his internship. But I'm telling him that I don't know what your employment agreement will be, or where you'll do your residencies and what your agreements will be, but I'm telling you that SBIR grants are a lot easier to get than R01. I mean, a lot easier. I'm batting pretty high on SBIR, and I will not say that I'm batting so high on R1s. So their grants, you could form a company, you can get an SBIR for the company, but then you can subcontract back to your lab. So So it helps to fund my lab, you know? It's a horrible thing to say, but you can pick some projects that are publishable that your students could work on back in the lab. So it's also a very interesting way to sort of do it. Yes.
I have a question. When you were mentioning, so new discoveries you then disclose to the university, and you know you're thinking they are eventually maybe going to license them to someone. So when you formed your startup company, did you have to pay the university for the licenses?
Yeah, so I've got some rules from all my friends on that also. So they, of course, want their money, okay? But I told them I don't have any money. So, you know, we won't do any, you didn't do anything all these years. So get into a little bit of a fight. You sat on it for all these years. Now we're trying to do something. How can you make us pay when we don't have the money? So yes, they are, but they're a little bit nice because they do know there's some truth in that if in fact we didn't license the compounds, we just discover some more over there. I'll just make some modifications in the company and then they won't have a nickel. So then they've been a little nicer, so they've deferred their payments, and now we're in sort of a deferral time. But they don't defer that much because the university is not very rich. So they do need the money, and they're paying to patent. Apparently, a patent cost for the university will go up to $100,000. Somehow they pay in increments, but it will go up, and that's a lot of money for nothing. So I can see their point of view, but if I don't have any money, and SBIR grants are very clear. You may not use the SBIR grant for patents. So we're gaming it again. We pay people as consultants and make them pay for the patents. But anyway, you use your consulting money, you give it back. Anyway, so we're doing stuff like that. But yeah, so you have to, SBIR won't pay for patents. They pay for consultants. So if you have a consultant who's willing to give money to help support your patent. So yeah, the university has these rules, but they do try to work with you. It's just difficult.
Kathy, how about like a broad, futuristic, clinical question about, you know, the age-old question I'm sure you get asked. How do you see this playing out on the wards? All these discoveries in the lab?
Well, right now, I mean, that's one, I didn't talk about it, but I work with another, I guess I'm now feeling my time management, but there's another consortium I work with, and a woman there got very frustrated. Just like I got frustrated, she got very frustrated. She said, St. Jude's, Mary Rowland. She said, I'm sick of knowing all this genomic medicine and nobody's using it. Physicians aren't using it, nobody's using it. And so she formed this consortium. And what they've basically done is they've got a bunch of guidelines. They're called the Clinical Pharmacogenomics CPICs, the Implementation Consortium. And they've got a lot of guidelines. They now will tell you exactly. So one of the problems that you guys have, you have two problems in not being able to use personalized medicines on the ward. You probably have three. But the number one problem is that, first of all, you know the genetic information in the EMRs, you don't even know. Nobody gives it to you, and you don't even know how to order the test because it's not there for you to order. Number two is if you have the genetic information, what are you going to do with it? Half the dose, double the dose, you know, give another drug? So what she did was they have gotten this international group together to make recommendations very clear. So if you have this genetic variant, you give exactly this dose. So it's going to be very clear, and it's very well curated. They've now got it for 10 or 11 drugs. So I actually believe, and now more and more people are putting genetic information into the EMR. They're doing that at Vanderbilt. They're doing it at St. Jude's. They're doing it at University of Chicago. Partners that they're doing it more and more. So this information will come up. The algorithms will come together, and you will get a flag. And that's what they're doing at St. Jude's now. You get a flag if your patient has a particular genetic variant, and it tells you how to dose. So I feel what we're seeing at those places, you guys will live and breathe, you know, in your future practice if the FDA doesn't close 23andMe down, and who knows what else is going on the sides. But, you know, if that can happen, that I think would be fabulous. So,
Great, thanks so much.
Have a good day.